Hi, my name is Stuart Lynch, and this is the third video in the MapKit with SwiftUI and SwiftData series. In this video, we'll continue on with some more app development, but we'll create a way for us to add more destinations and display them in a list, and then navigate from that list to the map view where we can set the desired map region for that location. I love getting your feedback, so tap the thumbs up button if you enjoyed this video and leave a comment below. Make sure you subscribe to the video and ring that bell to get notifications of new videos. And if you want to support my work, you can buy me a coffee. Oh, now that we've added mock data to our preview container, we can start to build out our application now. You'll want to have more than one trip planned along with locations to visit at that destination. So this is where we're going to start with this video. If you're working along with me, you can continue on from the source code that you completed in the last video. However, if you're just jumping in here and you want to work along, you can download the completed project from that last video. The link is in the description below for my GitHub repository. Just make sure you download the branch from video 2. You can already see that now I'm back in my project. I've started a new branch now for this video, and the completed source code for this video will be in that branch. Links to both will be in the description. So let's start by creating a new SwiftUI view in the Destinations tab folder, and we'll call it DestinationsList view. We're going to use this to display a list of all of our destinations. We're going to create a way for us to create new ones. Well, since we're dealing with SwiftData, let's first import SwiftData. To display a list of all destinations, we'll need to fetch all of our destinations using a SwiftData query. And I want these destinations sorted by name. So with my query, I can add a sort argument and specify a key path. So I'll have to specify the root destination and sort by the key path destination's name. And that'll sort them ascending. And then that will give us our destinations as an array of destination. Well, since we want to use the data from our preview container in the list, we can apply a ModelContainer function for the destination preview in our preview macro. Well, fortunately, SwiftData models all conform to the identifiable protocol, so I can create a list that will display these locations. But I only want to do that if it's not an empty array. If it is empty, I'm going to present a content unavailable view to let our users know that they should create one. But first, let's create our check for our list. So I'm going to surround the text view with an if-else statement that checks for that case. And then for the else clause, I'll create a content unavailable view that has a title, system, image, and description. For the title, I'll use the string no destinations. And then for the system image, I'll use globe.desk. For the description, I'm going to use a text view, and I'll start with the string, you have not set up any destinations yet. Tap on the, and at this point I want to display an image that's going to be on my toolbar. So I'll use string interpolation to present the image with the system name plus.circle.fill. And then I can continue on with my string with a space and then button in the toolbar to begin. Now you may be wondering, why is Hello World being displayed? Well, the reason is because we have used our model container and the fetch has found that single Paris location that we have in our preview container. So let's go back to the Start tab and change the view for that second tab now to be the Destinations List view. Now when I tap on the tab for that second tab, you'll see that the preview provider has not been found, and that's because this view has no idea what that is. We're seeing that content unavailable view. Well, we can solve that by applying that same ModelContainer modifier to the Start tab in its preview provider. So back in Destinations view, I want a button on the navigation toolbar to create a new destination. So I'm going to embed the if-else clause inside a navigation stack. I'm also going to want to add a toolbar around both of those views, but I can't do that on an if clause, so I'll embed it within a group. And then I can add my title, a navigation title using the string my destinations. And then I'm going to add a toolbar. And that toolbar is only going to have one button, so I don't need a toolbar item. I can simply specify a button that has a label that is going to be that image that I used in my content unavailable view. It's the image using the system name plus .circle.fill. So let's replace the text view back up in our body with a list that iterates over the destinations array. And that'll give us a destination that we can use to display. Within the list then, I'm going to create an H stack. And then as the first element, create an image using the system name globe. I'll set the image scale to large and apply a foreground style of accent. As the second element, I'm going to create a VStack. And for the first element in the VStack, I'll display a text view displaying the destination name. And then below that, I want to display another text view displaying the destination placemarks count using string interpolation, followed by the string locations. And I'll set the font to caption and the foreground style to secondary. Well, this is pretty good, but we can go the extra mile here. What if there are only one location, singular? Our locations is a fixed string that's plural. Well, it so happens in Swift that there is a way to determine this for us and do that capitalization of our words automatically for us. We can do this by just after the first quote here, enter a caret, followed by a left square bracket. And then I can remove the S on locations and close it off with the right square bracket. And then here's the key. I add within parentheses, inflect true. All this within the quote. And we can see now that, again, we are showing plural, even though location is only singular in my string. If I return to the Start tab now, I can see the list appears here too. Let me run it on a simulator though. I'm going to choose this iPhone 15 Pro and run it here. And when it launches, and I go to that Destinations tab, because we're not using our preview container, it can't find any locations yet, and I'm seeing that content unavailable view. Well, we still need to be able to create and potentially delete destinations that are on this list. And since destination only requires a name when creating a new view, I'm going to use an alert with a message field for this. To trigger an alert, we'll need a state property that can be toggled when we tap on the Add Plus button in the navigation toolbar. So I'm going to create a new state property called New Destination for that purpose, and I'll initialize it as false. And then for the action on our toolbar button, I'll simply just toggle this value. That's going to allow us to present an alert. But that alert's going to require a string state property for a text field for the destination name. So I'm going to create one called destination name and initialize it as an empty string. So now where that button is tapped, I'm going to attach an alert modifier using the title key is presented action and message initializer. I can use the string destination name for the title key, and it's going to be bound as the is presented to the new destination state property. And then I can press enter to create my closures. The first closure is where we can create the text field and the buttons action. So for the text field, I'll use the string, enter destination name, and bind that string to the destination name state property that we created. And then I'm going to create a button with the label OK. But for the action, I only want to perform the action if the destination name isn't empty. I don't want any empty destination names. So that'll prevent any blank entries. Then we can create a new destination as a destination object using that destination name for the name property. Now, in order to create a new destination, we'll need access to SwiftData's container's model context. Well, that's easy. In SwiftData, that gets injected into the environment. So all we need to do is to get it. So back up at the top, I'll create a new environment variable for the key path model context and assign it to a private variable of that same name. And then once we have our destination, we can use the model context to insert the destination. And then we can set that destination name string back to an empty string, so that the next time the alert's presented, it won't have that last name. And then I'm going to follow this with another button that's going to be the label cancel, in case I change my mind, with a role of cancel. But no need for an action. This will simply dismiss the alert. And then for the message, I'll just create a text field using the string create a new destination. You can test this out in the preview now, and you can see you can create a new destination, but it's just going to be in memory. To delete the destination, I want to use a swipe action on the item in the list. So on the H stack, I'll create a swipe action, and I'll specify a trailing edge. And then for the action, we'll use the button with a role being destructive. And for the label, I'll create another label using the string title delete and a system image of trash. And then for the action, we can access the model context's delete function, passing in that swiped destination. The final part today is to set up the navigation from the list view to our destinations map. And then while we're there, allow me to edit the name and set the specific region for the destination. To do that then, in the destination list view, we need to use the content of our list row as a navigation link that will take us to that view and pass in the specific destination. But let's start with that final destination view first. So we need to make some adjustments here from the previous video. We'll not be fetching all destinations for this view to find a specific destination. Instead, we'll be passing it in from our link. So I can remove the query. And since the destination will be passed in, it won't be a state private property, nor will it be optional. So I'll remove the @statePrivate, and I will remove the question mark. And then I can remove the if-let condition on the map content builder, as destination again is no longer optional. In the onAppear block, we already have our destination. So I can remove this, and it's no longer optional. So I can remove the question mark. So the camera position is going to be set by the region specified by our destination. The preview macro requires the destination to display. So what we need to do is somehow fetch the one from our preview container. So first, I'm going to remove the ModelContainer modifier attached to that preview macro. And let's add the argument for the destination and go about creating or finding out how to get one. So what we can do is we can create a property called container that is our destination preview container. Now we can't do a query in our preview, but we can use the container's fetch method to fetch our Paris destination from the preview container. So we can create a fetch descriptor to fetch all the destinations. This will fetch the same as a query does. It's just that it's not observable. But that's okay because we're displaying a static preview. And then to get the first destination, we can create a destination and then use a forced try to use the container's main context fetch method, passing in the fetch descriptor that's going to get them all. And since we know that we have one, Paris, at the initial position, that's the 0th iterator of the array. And then we'll need to return the destination location map view with that destination. So your map destination should now be centered around Paris, displaying those markers just as before. Now, since we'll be getting here via a navigation stack, we should embed the destination locations map view in a navigation stack in the preview so that we get to assign a title and see what it looks like in the preview. So let me create a new title now and also set the display mode to inline. And I'm going to do that before the onMap change function. The navigation title is destination, and I'll set that inline mode. Now, when I arrive at this view for the first time after creating a new destination, the default automatic region will have been set because ours currently is nil. So what I want to do is to adjust it here to make sure that it gets saved. I also may want to be able to change the name of my destination in case I spell it incorrectly. So above the map, create a V-stack and set the padding to horizontal to bring it in from the sides. For the first element of the V-stack, create a labeled content view using the content label initializer. And for the label, just use a text view with the string name. The content then is where we'll create our text view, and we'll use for the title key the string enter destination name. And it needs to be bound to the destination name that we're passing in. Trouble is, this has to be a binding. Well, fortunately for us, our SwiftData model is being observed as it came from that query in the last view. But in order to use the $sign to bind it, to let our code know that, we have to do one more thing. As the very first entry in the body, create an @bindable variable for destination and assign it the one that we passed in. So our text field will use that version then. And then we can set a text field style to rounded border and a foreground style of primary. For the second element in the V-stack, create an H-stack. And for the first element of the H-stack, create a text view to let the user know how to adjust the region. And then set the foreground style to secondary. Create a spacer to push it to the left, where we can create a button on the right. And we'll just set the label button to set region. For the action, we'll need to use an if-let to see if a visible region has been set, which it will be because we do that. Then we can update our destination's latitude and longitude to the visible region's center's latitude and longitude. And then we can do exactly the same thing for the span's delta values for our destination by assigning the visible region's span delta values. And then we can apply a button style of bordered prominent. We're almost there. The last thing we need to do is to return to our DestinationsList view and set up our navigation, because we haven't done that yet. We're going to do that by creating a new state property called path that is of type navigation path. So we can add that as a bound argument to the navigation stack. The list contents HStack will become the navigation link. So we'll surround that entire HStack with a navigation link where the value is the destination. So what we have to do now is to be able to set the navigation stack for that destination. So attached to the list, we can use a navigation destination method for the type destination.self. And that's going to provide us with a destination that we can pass along to our destination locations map view. You can test this now in your preview. If you tap on Paris, you're taken to the Paris destination and you see the region is set and you see the place marks. I can edit the name and change the region. Let me just mess it up a bit and set the region. When I return, I see the name has been changed in my list. If I tap on that row again, I see that the region has stuck as well. I'm at that region that I don't really want to be. Well, there's one final thing I want to do though, is that when I create a new destination, I want to be taken to that destinations map right away so that I can make the region updates. So in the action for the OK button, after you reset the name to an empty string, I'm going to append the new destination to the path, forcing it to get pushed onto the stack and takes me to that destinations view. So let's test that by creating a new city. I'm going to try Berlin. You see, I'm taken directly to the next view with my default map view showing. So let me zoom in on Berlin. So I'm just going to double click on the map and continue to drill down until I get an area of Berlin that I want to visit. And then I can tap on and set the region. When I return to the list view and then tap on Paris, I get that Paris region when I've navigated there. Perfect. If I return then, but this time tap on Berlin, I'm taken to Berlin and it's waiting for us to create some new locations. That's what's coming in the next video. In the next video, we'll learn how we can facilitate a search on our destination view and find locations of interest to set up as markers. If you're enjoying this series, please give the video a thumbs up and leave me a comment. And if this series is not yet completed, be sure to subscribe to my channel so you're notified when new videos are available. Otherwise, continue on with the series by checking out the next one in the playlist.